Hi guys, welcome to today's tutorial. In today's tutorial, we'll be discussing a very core concept of Java, that is objects and static and non-static members of a class. Okay, let's move on. So what is object? Object is a real-time entity of a class. So class is a blueprint or type of a object. Okay, so like animal is a class, okay, tiger is an object. Correct? Plastic is a class, plastic chair is an object. So that is more of no unrealistic example, but still to make it understand. So now the syntax to create a object in a Java, actually first is I have to write the class name, then the object name, okay, then what I need to create, and then equals the new class name. Okay, first bracket open, first bracket close. Here is the example. Okay, now let's quickly see how we can create an object of a class. Let's say I'm creating a class. Okay, I'm creating another class. Okay, let's say one class itself. Okay, so let's say I need to create, I'm trying to create a main method. Okay, so here first is the class name, then the object name, then equal, then new one, then this one. So this will, there is a typo. Okay, this will create an object for me. Okay, got it. So that's how the object creation is done. Now let's try to understand the statement. This has two segment. One is this one, and another one is this one. Okay, this statement, this part of statement specifies that I am creating a reference for a class. Okay, so till then no object has been created. Okay, I'm just creating a reference of a class A. Now this is basically creating a object. Okay, using new keyword, and once this is created, I am assigning this to this. I'm assigning this object to the reference obj. Got it? That's the same thing I was trying to mention here. Two parts, one is declaration, one is initialization, one is name, another is the assigning. So but again we need to see something very important. So this is called what? This is called constructor. Okay, now what is constructor? Constructor is a special method or concept in Java which refers to a special method having the same name of the class name and doesn't have a return type. Okay, like this one. So basically this is calling a constructor of class A. So you can say I haven't written any method, constructor method over here. So how this is getting considered, right? So basically the concept is if we or if the programmer don't write any constructor by himself or herself, Java will provide a default constructor to him to work with. So basically the constructor is getting created by JVM itself, Java itself. Okay, now if I want to create a constructor, I can create a constructor. Okay, no hidden type. Okay, system.println. Let's say this is a constructor. Okay, I am creating this. Okay, so if I call this, the constructor should be getting called and this method should get executed. This is for printing a simple sentence. This is a constructor. Let's run this. Let's see what happens. Okay, so see, basically whenever I'm creating an object, I'm calling a constructor. Okay, a constructor can have multiple types. One is parameter, one is constructor with argument, one is another is non-parameters constructor, no parameters. Like if I need to initialize some non-static variable, what is non-static variable? Suppose let's say I'm giving is here j equal to 10. Okay, I'm initializing the value of j to 10, but if I don't initialize the value j, okay, and I want to initialize the value at the time of object creation, then I can use a constructor. Okay, again, okay, and j. So what is this? So here I have to use this dot j is equal to j. So don't uh, be worried for this keyword. This is a keyword which refers to current present reference. We'll discuss furthermore for this. Let's try to focus this. Basically, what I'm doing, this dot j means it's referring to this j, and this j means this j. Okay. If I need to initialize some non-static variable at the time of object creation, we can use parameterized constructor. Okay, let's say objp. Okay, new a. Okay, let's say I want to initialize the variable j's value to 199. Okay, so this should get initialized to 199. Let's see to cross check what happens. Dot j. Okay, so let's say I want to print this. You got it right. So I'm once it is initialized, I'm trying to call this. Okay, sys out. Okay, basically system dot printer. I'm trying to print the value of it. Okay, now it is giving the close issue, right? Yeah. Now let's run it. Let's see what happens. See the if I create a object, if I can initialize the value of non-static variable using create a object, creating object. Let's say I'm creating again another object. Okay, a object 2 is equal to new a. Okay, with 209. So now the value of j for object ob2 should be how much? Should be 203, 209, right? Yeah, let's see if that is the case or not. Okay, let's see. Okay, you got it right. So here j is 199, here it is 219, 209. Okay, now from here we can wrap up couple of things. Okay, decisive things. One is whenever object is getting created, whenever we are initializing an object, that time constructor is getting called. What is constructor? To sum it up basically, what is constructor? Constructor is a special method of a class which does not have a return type and having the same name as no class name. There are two type of constructor. One is parameterized constructor, one is normal constructor without parameters, right? If you don't write the constructor, what will happen? JVM will provide the constructor by default for you to create an object. And if you need to initialize, then what is the need for, again, next question is what is the need for constructor? Constructor is required to initialize non-static member, okay, at the time of object creation. So what is non-static variable or member? Non-static member is a member or variable which gets created along with the object. Let's say I have two object. I have here created how many object? Three object, right? So the I, how many copies of I will be created in the memory? There will be three copies of I will be created in the memory, because each object will be having their own copy of non-static members. Let's say here I have a method as well. Okay, public void method. Okay, this is what? This is non-static member, because I have not mentioned any static keyword here. If I don't mention a static keyword, then that is a non-static member. And every non-static for every non-static member, for each object a copy is getting created in the memory. So here what we mean to say that for every non-static member, for each of the object, there will be separate spaces created. Let's say I have a non-static member method 1. So for this object, one copy of method 1 will be created. For this object, one copy of method 1 will be created, and for this object, one copy of method 1 will be created. And in such cases, so if that is the case, if I change the method by calling this method, if the method value or the variable non-static variable value gets changed by this object, then that does not have any effect to the same variable of other object. Okay, as there are different copies, one object can manipulate the same data, but other objects the same data will not be hampered, because there are different separate copies. So each object can work on their own copies of non-static variables and members. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, if that is the static member, let's say if that is a static member, what is happening? Okay, if that is a static member, then for all these three objects only one copy of j will be created. So static variable, here we are entering into static concepts. So static variable or static member is a concept where each of the member is accompanied with a keyword called static, and they have only one memory location or one memory reference throughout the project. Okay, how many objects you create, how many instance or classes you create, you cannot have multiple copy of a static member. Okay, so in that case, if your this object change the value of this by in the process of execution, then this will be capturing the changed value or altered value or newer value of j. Okay, it will not get the older value. Again, if that's changing the value of j, then this will be capturing or storing or using the newer value whichever is been or has been altered by this. That is the very important concept of static and difference between static and non-static. So static means only one variable, um, only one memory location, and non-static means multiple memory location depending on the object. And how can we call a static member? Let's say I want to call a static member. Here j is a static, right? Previously we are using example is non-static, right? Let's create another variable v, okay, which is 10. Okay, now let's call this method. How to call a static member from of a class. A static member, for to call a static member of a class, we don't need to create an object. We just call it from by directly using the class name. A is the class name, so a dot v, so it will give me the results called 10. Okay, but calling a non-static variable requires the object creation. So you got the point, right? So what is the need for object creation? Object creation is required whenever we're working with non-static members, non-static variables, non-static methods. But in case of static variables, static members, static block, what is static block, we'll see later. That time this does not require object creation. It can be directly called using class. And as this is only one copy per static member per class is one copy, then that's why it is called class variable. It's a property of a class, not a object. Object is not, no, is the owner of the member, but the owner of the member is a class, so that's why it is called a variable of class, variable, right? Property of a class. Okay, static variable. Okay, you got the point. Now static is this. Okay, we have discussed this, fine. Let's go back to our, no, this one. So we are mentioning this, you got this point, two parts, and how constructor is getting into picture, and what is the main purpose of constructor: to initialize the non-static variable of the class at the time of object creation. Okay, got it. Now main purpose of object creation is to use or to call non-static members from of a class. Okay, basically main purpose object creation. Okay, and here I had shown how to call the static variable, how to call the non-static variable. Static method can be called from another, okay, another thing I missed out actually, a static method can be called from another static method without creating any object, right? Directly just called. Let's say I have a method public static void m2. Okay, here, okay, I have a, let's say, method public static void 2, so I can using directly call using this one, right? Okay, anyhow, let's execute this program. We should get some output. Okay, yeah, so basically first I'm printing dot j, which is having the value of 199, then 209. A dot v means static variable. Okay, so that's all for this thing actually. Okay, now in a nutshell, we'll try to just summarize the static members, because why I'm trying to discuss more and more about static, because it's a very important concept and frequently asked in the no interviews. Whenever you are developing with the framework or like softwares, it is very much important concept to take care of. Okay, so static members are called as class member, not object member. You know why, right? Only one copy is created. The value is changed of one static variable, then that value gets reflected all over the cases where it is being used, and it is being accessed directly via class name. So that's all from this section. If you do like my video, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions, suggestions, and inputs, please do put them in the comment box. I'll be happy to help. Thank you and have a nice day.